Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss the new stories we share. Let's begin. The glass door slammed so hard I thought it might shatter, and there he was, a man crumpled on the sidewalk outside Mabel's Diner in Amarillo, Texas. His knees hit the concrete first, then his palms. The thud was sickening, the kind of sound that stays with you. I set my coffee down. My name is Carter Holloway. I'm 53 years old. I run a cattle ranch about 40 miles outside the city, been doing it since my father passed it down to me nearly 20 years ago. I came into town that morning for feed supplies, figured I'd grab breakfast first, something hot, something simple. I didn't expect to witness something that would change the entire course of my week, maybe the entire course of my life. The man on the sidewalk didn't cry out, didn't curse, he just stayed there for a moment. Hands flat against the ground, head bowed like he was praying, or maybe like he was used to this. Inside the diner, the waiter who'd shoved him was wiping his hands on his apron, smirking. A few customers looked away, uncomfortable but unwilling to do anything. One woman actually pulled her child closer like the homeless man was contagious. I watched him slowly push himself up. His clothes were torn in places, faded. A flannel shirt that used to be red, maybe. Jeans worn thin at the knees, boots that had seen 1,000 miles of hard road, but there was something else. On his left shoulder, barely visible beneath the grime and the fraying fabric, was a patch, a military patch, and when I saw it, the air left my lungs. I know that patch. I grew up with that patch hanging in a frame on our living room wall. I traced its edges as a boy, listening to my father tell stories about the men he served with, about what they sacrificed, about the brotherhood that goes beyond blood. The 1st Cavalry Division. My father served in Vietnam. He came home broken in ways that never fully healed. He drank too much. He woke up screaming some nights, but he was a hero. He was my hero. And here was a man wearing the same symbol being thrown out of a diner like garbage. I stood up. My boots hit the tile floor with purpose. The waiter, a young guy named Derek according to his name tag, noticed me approaching. He straightened up a little, probably recognizing me. I've been coming to Mabel's for years. I'm not exactly a stranger here. Mr. Holloway, he said, nodding. Sorry about the disturbance. That vagrant was bothering the customers. Had to. Why did you do that? My voice came out lower than I intended, quieter, but there was steel in it. Derek blinked. Excuse me. That man outside, why did you shove him onto the concrete like he's nothing? The diner got quiet. Forks stopped clinking. Conversations faded. Every eye in the place turned toward us. Derek's smirk faltered. He was asking people for money, making them uncomfortable. This is a family establishment. Did he threaten anyone? Well, no, but did he steal anything? No, sir, but he smelled and people were complaining, so you threw him out because he smelled. Derek's jaw tightened. He didn't like being questioned. I could see it in his eyes, that flicker of defiance mixing with uncertainty. I was just doing my job. I leaned closer. Your job is to serve food, not to assault people. I didn't wait for Derek's response. I turned and walked out the front door, the bell chiming softly behind me. The homeless man was sitting on the curb now. His shoulders were hunched, his hands trembling slightly as he stared at nothing. I approached slowly, the way you'd approach a wounded animal. Hey, I said, keeping my voice gentle. You okay? He didn't look up at first. When he finally did, I saw eyes that had seen too much, gray-blue like a winter sky, tired beyond measure. I'm fine, he said quietly. I'm used to it. Those words hit me harder than any punch could. I'm used to it. How many times had this man been shoved, ignored, stepped over? How many times had he been treated like he didn't matter? I crouched down beside him, my knees protesting the position. That patch on your shoulder, I said. 1st Cavalry Division. His hand instinctively went to it, fingers brushing the worn fabric. Yeah, he said. Long time ago. My father served with the 1st Cav, Vietnam, 1967 to 1969. Something shifted in his face, a flicker of recognition, of connection. I was there in '68, he said. Khe Sanh, Tet Offensive. My heart stopped. My father had talked about Khe Sanh. It was where he lost most of his friends. It was the battle that haunted his nightmares until the day he died. What's your name? I asked. He hesitated like he'd forgotten it mattered. William, he finally said. William Reeves. Most folks just call me Billy. I extended my hand. Carter Holloway, pleasure to meet you, Billy. He looked at my hand like it was foreign, like he hadn't shaken anyone's hand in years. Then he took it. His grip was weak, but there was dignity in it. My daddy's name was Thomas Holloway, I said. Did you know him? Billy's eyes widened slowly. His mouth opened, then closed. He looked away, blinking rapidly. Tommy, he whispered. Tommy Holloway. The way he said it told me everything. You knew him. Billy nodded, his chin quivering. He saved my life. January 1968. We were pinned down, mortar fire everywhere. I took shrapnel in my leg, couldn't move. Tommy ran through open ground to drag me to cover, bullets flying past his head the whole way. I felt tears prick the corners of my eyes. My father never told me that story. He never talked about being a hero. He only talked about the friends he couldn't save. But here was a man he did save, sitting on a curb in Amarillo, being thrown out of diners for the crime of being poor. Come with me, I said. Billy shook his head. I appreciate the kindness, but I'm fine, really. No, I said firmly. You're not, and I'm not leaving you here. He looked at me with something like confusion, like he couldn't understand why anyone would care. Billy, my father talked about the men he served with his whole life. He called them brothers, and if you were his brother, then your family too. Me now, please, let me buy you breakfast. Billy's eyes glistened. I don't want to cause any trouble. The only trouble, I said, is what's going to happen if that waiter tries to stop us. We walked back into that diner together. The bell chimed again, every head turned. Derek's face went pale when he saw Billy beside me. His eyes darted to the kitchen, probably looking for backup. Mr. Holloway, I can't let him. You can and you will. I guided Billy to my booth, helped him sit down. The vinyl creaked beneath him. This man is my guest, I said loud enough for the whole diner to hear. He's a veteran of the United States Army. He served in Vietnam at Khe Sanh, where boys younger than you bled and died so you could stand here with your little apron and your attitude. Derek's mouth opened, but nothing came out. You're going to bring him whatever he wants, and you're going to do it with respect. Do you understand me? The diner was silent. An older woman in the corner started clapping, slowly at first, then louder. A few others joined in. Derek's face turned red. He grabbed a menu and slapped it on the table without a word, then retreated to the kitchen. I sat down across from Billy. His hands were shaking worse now, but this time I think it was from something other than cold. You didn't have to do that, he said quietly. Yes, I did. He stared at the menu like it was written in a foreign language. I realized he probably hadn't ordered from a menu in years. Get whatever you want, I said. Eggs, bacon, pancakes, all of it. Don't even look at the prices. He swallowed hard. I don't remember the last time someone. He couldn't finish. A waitress named Linda came over. She was older, kind-faced, and she smiled at Billy like he was any other customer. What can I get for you, hon? Billy's voice cracked. Just coffee, please, and maybe some toast. Billy, I said gently, order a real meal. He looked at me, then back at Linda. Scrambled eggs, he said quietly. Bacon and pancakes, if that's okay. Of course it's okay, Linda said warmly, coming right up. She walked away and Billy just sat there staring at the table. Can I ask you something? He said after a long moment. Anything. Why are you doing this? You don't know me. I leaned back. My father spent the last 10 years of his life wrestling with demons I'll never fully understand. He drank himself to sleep most nights. He pushed people away. My mother stayed, but it broke her too. When he died, I found boxes of letters he never sent. Letters to men he served with. Letters full of apologies for surviving when they didn't. Billy's jaw tightened. I never got to help him, I continued. I was too young to understand. By the time I was old enough, he was gone, but I can help you, and I think maybe that's why I walked into this diner today. Maybe this is the universe giving me a chance to do something I should have done a long time ago. Billy's tears fell silently onto the table. He didn't wipe them away. Neither did I. Tommy talked about you, Billy said softly. In the foxholes, he talked about his boy back home, said he couldn't wait to teach you how to ride horses, how to rope cattle. He was so proud of you even though you were just a baby. My throat tightened. I never knew that. The food came and Billy ate like a man who hadn't had a hot meal in weeks, probably because he hadn't. I watched him and I saw my father, not in his face but in his movements. The way he held his fork, the way he paused between bites like he was savoring something he thought he'd lost forever. How long have you been on the streets? I asked gently. Billy set his fork down. About 4 years now. What happened? He sighed, long and heavy. When I came back from Vietnam, I was a mess, nightmares, flashbacks. I couldn't hold a job. My wife tried to help, but I pushed her away. We divorced. I bounced around for a while, worked odd jobs when I could. Then my health started failing, lost my apartment, couldn't afford the medications. One thing led to another, and here I am. Do you have any family left? He shook his head. My parents passed years ago, never had kids. My brother died of cancer a decade back. Alone, he'd been completely alone. Billy, I have a proposition for you. He looked up, wary. I run a cattle ranch outside the city. It's hard work, but it's honest. I've got a bunkhouse that sits empty most of the time. Used to house seasonal workers, but I've scaled things back since my wife passed. Billy's eyes widened. Your wife? Ovarian cancer, 3 years ago. Her name was Margaret. She was the best thing that ever happened to me. We sat in shared grief for a moment. Two men who'd lost everything, connected by threads they didn't know existed. I'm offering you a place to stay, I continued. A job if you want it, nothing fancy, feeding animals, mending fences, but it's something. Billy shook his head slowly. I can't accept that. Why not? Because I'm broken, Carter. I'm not the man I used to be. I'll just disappoint you. I reached across the table and gripped his arm. Billy, my father was broken too, and he was still the best man I ever knew. Being broken doesn't mean you're worthless. It means you've been through something, and you survived it. He looked at me, really looked at me for the first time since we'd met. You remind me of him, he said quietly. Tommy, same stubborn look in your eyes. I smiled through my own tears. He used to say I was too hard-headed for my own good. Billy laughed. It was a rusty sound, like a gate that hadn't been opened in years. That sounds like Tommy. I paid the bill, left Linda a generous tip. Derek was nowhere to be seen, probably hiding in the kitchen. As we walked out, the older woman who'd started clapping earlier stopped me. God bless you, she said, squeezing my hand. That was beautiful. I nodded, but I didn't feel like I'd done anything special. I just did what should have been done in the first place. Outside, my truck was parked by the curb. A big Ford F-250, dusty from ranch roads. Billy hesitated at the passenger door. I haven't been in a vehicle in a long time. It's just a truck, Billy. It won't bite. He climbed in slowly, carefully, like the whole thing might dissolve if he moved too fast. As I started the engine, I caught him looking out the window at the diner. What are you thinking? I asked. He was quiet for a long moment. I'm thinking that for the first time in 4 years, I feel human again. The drive to the ranch took about an hour. Billy didn't say much. He just watched the landscape roll by, his face pressed close to the window like a child seeing the world for the first time. I understood. When you've been stuck in survival mode for years, when every day is about finding food and shelter and staying alive, you forget to notice things. The way the sun paints the Texas sky at midday. The endless stretch of golden plains. The cattle dotting the hillsides like brown and white brushstrokes. When we pulled up to the ranch house, Billy's breath caught. It wasn't fancy. Just a 2-story farmhouse with a wraparound porch and a red barn in the distance. But it was home. This is yours? He asked. Was my father's before me and his father's before him. Been in the family for almost a century. I showed him to the bunkhouse. It was small but clean. A bed, a dresser, a window overlooking the pasture. It's not much, I said. Billy ran his hand along the quilt on the bed. It's everything, he whispered. That first week was hard. Billy was weak from years of malnutrition and exposure. He could only work a few hours before exhaustion set in. But he never complained, not once. He woke up before dawn every day, fed the horses, swept the barn, did whatever he could, and slowly he started to change. The hollowness in his eyes began to fade. He gained weight. His hands stopped trembling, but more than that, he started to smile again. One evening, about 3 weeks in, we sat on the porch watching the sunset. I'd grilled steaks. Billy had eaten too, which was more than he'd probably eaten in a single sitting in years. Carter, he said quietly, I need to tell you something. What is it? He stared at the horizon, his eyes distant. That day at Key San, when Tommy saved me, it wasn't just the shrapnel. I was ready to give up. I'd seen so much death, so much horror. I told him to leave me, told him I wasn't worth saving. He paused, swallowing hard, and do you know what he said? I shook my head. He said every man is worth saving, even the ones who don't believe it yet. I felt my father's presence in that moment, like he was sitting right there with us. He was right, I said, and you've proven it. Billy turned to look at me, tears streaming down his weathered face. I spent 40 years thinking I was worthless, that I should have died over there instead of the good men who did. But your father believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself, and now you've done the same. I put my hand on his shoulder. You're not worthless, Billy. You never were. You just needed someone to remind you. He nodded slowly, wiping his eyes. Tommy would be proud of you, he said. The man you've become, the kindness you carry, he'd be so proud. I couldn't speak. The lump in my throat was too thick, but I didn't need to. Some things don't need words. Billy stayed on the ranch. He's still here, actually. It's been almost 2 years now. He's become my right hand, my friend, my family. We visit my father's grave together sometimes out in the little cemetery behind the old church in town. Billy tells stories about the war, about the men they lost, about the brother he found and never forgot. And I listen, because that's what family does. If you take anything from this story, let it be this. The man you pass on the street, the one everyone ignores, he has a story. He has a past. He has value. And sometimes all it takes is one person to see it. One person to ask, why did you do that? One person to reach out a hand, be that person. You never know whose life you might save, or whose memory you might honor. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and visit the channel for more real-life stories.